So to open, I wanted to invite Maria Berriozabal, who is a mentor to me.
Enter to everybody.
It's a great honor that you're here.
I get the other. We'll use the other mic.
Okay, soy María Antonieta Berriozábal, and I'm very honored and happy to be here. I had a few words with compañero Antonio, and I am so honored to be here to listen to meet him and then to listen to him. Antonio. Arturo, pues nunca me va a contestar. Le estaba llamando Antonio Arturo, dispénseme. Thank you very much for being here with us here in San Antonio. And I know you're going to be at my alma mater at UTSA. And thank you for inspiring us. I am so honored and grateful to be here. And I thank Greg and Marisol for their invitation. I thank my dear friend Jessica for driving me, and very happy to be here. This has been for me an extremely happy and inspiring evening. You all have talked about the most serious issues of our world, of our planet, of our universe this evening. And the feeling that I have, to sum it up in my heart, is a lot of gratitude and a lot of hope. What I see in each of you who are doing this work, and all of you who are here, is people who have been preparing themselves for years, people that I call the map makers, that have created a map that will take us into the future. I have been waiting for this, and what I was telling Marisol is that it's very emotional for me, because it's change that's coming, and it's some of you who are around here who I have known for so many years, and the new ones that I met today and heard. You are the changers. The change is in humanity. It's in your heart. It's in your soul. It's in your life. And I hope that you see what I see, which is a lot of hope in the middle of a lot of destruction, a lot of hate, things that happen every day that are so profoundly sad. So thank you. Thank you for the inspiration. Thank you for what you're doing. Building networks across countries and networks within our community. So I wish you well. And the words are gratitude and pride and hope of something so important, but that takes a long time in its beginning. It's being born. I will not see it, but you will. And your children and your grandchildren, those of you who have children and grandchildren, will see it. And it makes me very happy. Very happy. So thank you very much. And one thing is that a lot of the hope and the emotion is in seeing Diana and Gaona. I forgot her name.
Nadia.
Gaona and Marisol, and others, young women that are going to take it into the future, and to see their development, their activities, and what they have been doing in their young lives is, I don't have a word for it, just gracias.
Thank you so much, Maria. I love you a lot. And I learned from you. Like, everything we're talking up there. I learned, and many others. So at this time, anyone who wants to speak, ask questions, please, we can pass the mic around. Maria.
Hello, hello, people of the new earth. I think that's what we're building here. That's what we're building here. And I too, like Maria, to whom I owe a huge debt of gratitude for being the model, for being out there, la primera, right? For opening so many doors to so many of us. My name is Maria Martin, and I've been doing public radio for 48 years, or trying to do it, right? Right now I do it from Guatemala, and coming here to see this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful projects that you all are doing. And I know that it's not easy to do this, but you're doing it. And I see community. People talked about community here. And if I've learned anything in 48 years, trying to be a change maker, you're trying to make public radio public, right? It's we have to work together. No more turf battles, people. Let's work together. And the other thing that I wanted to say is I want to let you, this community probably knows, that indigenous environmental activists, especially in Central America, from where I report, are in danger. El agua es vida, but for many people, defending el agua is mean muerte. So in Honduras, at least 5 people dead this year. In Guatemala, attacks. That's what I report on. Attacks on people who are criminalized because they are just defending the rivers and traditional ways of life. So I just want you to know that. And also one announcement: on the 22nd of April at the Esperanza Peace and Justice Center, there will be a panel to talk about the power of community radio. They have a low power FM radio that I'm beginning to be involved in, training people to tell audio stories, and whatever ideas that you have about us working together in the media, about what you'd like to hear in a radio station. I would love to have this panel. I'd love to hear that kind of thing. So my love to each and every one of you, and my support in what you all are doing. Y gracias, Marisol, y gracias a todos, but especially gracias a María Isabel for being la primera. Gracias. Thank you.
Happy to pass the mic. Anyone? Yeah. Question?
A ver, ¿dónde vamos allá? Yeah, anybody. Okay. I think she had her hand up. Yeah.
Let's walk with her.
I'm not standing. Excuse my voice. And I was coughing earlier because I'm allergic to San Antonio, but my mother's here. And the one place I've been spending the last 6 years at is Brackenridge Park. Brackenridge Park is on the National Register of Historic Places. It is a state antiquities landmark. It is the People's Park. We put together a documentary last year called To Save Our Central Park. Low budget, really no budget. But it was to tell our story, because that river that starts at the Blue Hole is sacred to the indigenous people. And when I heard they wanted to cut down, it was 110 trees to begin with. They said it's 48 now. But if you've been there, in between both bridges on the zoo side are oak trees that are 100 years old, probably older. So they want to take out all the big trees on the river, because they say they can't fix the river wall without removing those trees, even though we have engineers from Houston who can fix the wall without killing all those trees. But this is part of a development, obviously planned, that doesn't include the community, because we've opposed it for over a year. And the Texas Historic Commission approved it yesterday to cut down those 50 trees. We don't even know for sure which ones. There's bald cypress trees there that are probably 300 years old. So a lot of this has been kept from the public. You don't see anything in the news. But what I have watched over the last 6 years is the assault on nature. Trees being massacred, I call it creep murder. They cut the tops off. And migratory birds that come from Mexico, Central, and South America to nest have been assaulted. And the public, because we spent Easter there and they were shooting explosive cartridges over the public as though we didn't matter. They put signs up everywhere, oh, noise or whatever in progress, bird mitigation plan. That doesn't make it right. We had people there with families with their children. You think children deserve to see gunfire over their head, explosive cartridges banging at 150 decibels? No. So our city has devised this plan to chase these migratory birds out of every park without public knowledge or, involvement. They hired the USDA, which is a federal agency known for killing millions of birds a year. And we know they were shooting them in the zoo and in the park. And we suspect they killed a lot more than they're saying, even though they said it was going to be non-lethal. But I wanted to read something to you because along this battle, I've met a lot of people. We started back at the Planning Commission and then the HGRC meeting last February. Professor Reed was there, Frankie, a lot of people that are here now. And the thing is, our fight is ongoing. It's never going to stop because we are so far at the edge of destroying our own planet, along with everything in it, that it's time to say stop. So I wanted to read this thing I wrote because it kind of tells you about me, because I've been labeled a protester who's violent or whatever. I'm just a little old lady with a camera who likes to take pictures of birds. And I actually rescued like 500 and something babies last year. So the damage that the USDA and the city has done to that ecosystem has not only damaged the tree canopy, but also the biodiversity. And they have signs saying tree care in progress and bird mitigation that they're trying to increase the biodiversity. It's kind of hard to increase it when you've chased it all away or killed it. So this is something I wrote, and it's a little about what my fight's about. If I can see. Okay. They call me a protester. Oop. I am a resident, someone who cares about you and me and the environment. I care about our heat island and moderate non-attainment air quality. I care about the trees that make oxygen that we need just to breathe. They call me an activist because I stand for protecting the trees, protecting wildlife, protecting the river, the birds, and the bees, protecting our world for you and for me. If you look around, you will see that I am not alone, standing here fighting to protect our trees, our river, our birds, and our bees, and that world that needs you and me. Our world needs us to fight, to holler and yell, to say stop. The destruction that is happening all around us, adversely impacting everything on earth, including you, including me. I am an advocate that fights to preserve the past, fights to preserve my present and preserve my future. I gather research to learn to share with others who might not understand why we fight for these things they may not care about, like our planet, like you and I do. I fight because I know it is the right thing to do. If we want our children and their children to have an earth left to live on, we must not forget that it's up to not only me, but it's up to you too, to fight to preserve our trees, our rivers, our birds, and even our bees. So please don't forget you can make a difference. Join me in fighting for all that we hold dear, our planet, our wildlife, and all of the trees. In the word of the Lorax, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. That's the Lorax.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have a question for any of the panelists or things you want to share?
Hi everyone. My name is Juancho Zambales. I use they them pronouns. I was actually born in the Philippines, in what we would kind of define as the global south. And this question is specifically for Arturo, but if any of the panelists want to respond, I would certainly invite that. So I was educated in a Western American school system. The Philippines, actually the history of it was that we were forced into what was called benevolent assimilation, where schools such as Harvard would send over American teachers to force us to learn English. It's actually so much so that the most spoken language in the Philippines is English. And a lot of people like myself, when they become diasporized, they quickly lose their language. My question, though, is in that Western education system, you know, I came to environmentalism through a lot of talks of renewable energy, so solar power, wind energy. I actually chose my name Quantum because I got into nuclear energy, which is one of the things that I thought potentially was going to be one of those things to save the world. However, in my research and in my learning about nuclear energy, I started to see some of the complexities with it, and some of the complexities with solar power and wind power. And one of the hardest, biggest aches of solar and wind power is that the materials that we need to build solar power, to build wind power, a lot of the nickel, for example, actually predominantly comes from Palawan, which are the hills of the Philippines. Once, in this day, in 2023, there are still indigenous tribes that are considered no contact on the island of Palawan, and those are their homes. And the biggest owners of the land in Palawan now are not the indigenous people, but are Tesla and Toyota, whom are mining those mountains to build solar power and to build wind power. And there's a certain level of hopelessness with trying to imagine a world with renewable energy when it comes from the necessary rape of my own country, the destruction of my own people. And I don't know how to be present in environmental circles that push for that without the fact that they are completely uneducated on the fact of where that energy comes from and who is being stolen to make that energy possible. And so I just want to ask, and I know that that's a really complex question, but just kind of what are your thoughts on what does energy movement look like in the future, and how do we kind of proceed without causing additional harms to the land?
Thanks very much. I think Doña María y Doña María se fueron ya, salieron, ¿no? Sí. Bueno. I wanted to thank our two elders, and I'm elder too, and I'm not suggesting that I'm much younger than them, but what they said was really beautiful, and really moving, and also the poem that you wrote, that you read as well, so thanks for that. And energy is central to the cleaning of the earth, there's no doubt about that. Sometimes we're not so much aware about how energy underlies everything that we do. I mean, fossil fuel energy, the cities in which we live wouldn't be the way they are without huge amounts of energy released from fossil fuels from the late 18th century on to today. And how do we decarbonize the cities? Since everything, this might be running out. that everything that we do, yeah, let's wait. I don't think I can speak loud enough for everybody to. It's perfectly okay. So, hello. No, tampoco. Stand up, tampoco. What? Okay. Ay, no, nada.
I'm sorry, all the batteries died.
Okay. Let me try to speak like this. Like one. Ah, ese. Bueno, hay uno.
Ese está verde.
We'll see.
A ver, opa. Yo creo que está muy lado. El universo no quiere que yo hable. Yo creo que es eso. Maybe the universe doesn't want. I have to be closer. Oh yes. I don't know.
No, se están robando la energía.
No. Do you see why do we need so much energy?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, yeah, I mean, energy is so central to everything that we do. And what is going on today, quantum, as I mentioned in passing, is that the energy transition that is being pushed by corporations, as you found out from what is going on in the Philippines, which is going on in many parts of the global south, is that the energy transition is going to be done at the expense of the global south, because it's going to require the extraction. It is already requiring the extraction of huge amounts of energy, of minerals. Lithium, for instance, is one of the key ones for transitioning from fuel gas, from gas cars to electric cars. So what I wanted to say is that there are movements already that are paying attention to that, and I will send Maria or to Marisol the information about. It's a really interesting initiative of a just transition from the global south. So how do a transition, a significant just transition with social and environmental justice and racial justice would look like if we do it from the perspective of the global south? That involves something that is very important. What is very important is a decrease in the amount of energy that is consumed today. Nobody's thinking about that in the global north. That's why deceleration is important. Deceleration, degrowth, buen vivir, good living. The ideas about how can we live differently than we do today that requires so much energy. So energy transition that takes care of the needs of people who are going to be transitioned out of the energy business, because that's very important. Energy transition that takes care of the needs of what are vital to societies and social systems, especially, for instance, in times of global warming and heating in places like this, how to be able to cool down environments for people to live well. But energy transition also that contemplates a significant and drastic reduction of consumption of materials and energy, a change in the lifestyles of people. And this brings me to the last question, which is the question of, that Maria mentioned, the question of the future. And I think one of the, I'm going to give up on this.
Arturo, maybe try this one.
That one of the, I think it's, the universe doesn't want me to speak. I think I'm confused. Okay.
Let's just let him. Yeah.
That the future, one of the most important questions that we need to ask today, I think, is who gets to imagine the future? I usually put it in this way, who is doing the hugely important
That energy is canceled.
cultural political work of imagining the future. And if I ask you the question of who is doing that, who's getting the upper hand in imagining the future, you'll probably tell me, well, the gurus of technology, right? The Facebooks and the Googles and the robotics and the genomics and the synthetic biologists and the pharmaceuticals and the space travel. Those are the ones. It's a very patriarchal imagination. It's about an imagination of leaving the body and the earth behind. Who cares about the body? If we can download our brains and consciousness on a quantum computing. Who cares about the earth if we can move to another planet? Or if we can build our secluded enclaves of privilege, of course. So it's a very, I call them techno-patriarchs of high technology. So how do we, the future is being colonized by this imagination, how do we liberate the future from being colonized by that? And how do we populate the future with other ways of being and inhabiting today and for the future? So I think that, and what you said also reminded me of, you are probably familiar with this, with your name, but maybe not, just in case. The wonderful physicist whose name is David Bohm, who coined the concept of the quantum entanglement. And he talks about, I'm going to mention it tomorrow in passing, what he calls the unbroken wholeness of life. Life is a whole, and we have been all saying it today. It's a continuum. Life is always producing, reverberating, creating new things. And we partition it and fragment it and dominate it. I mean, we especially, rich people, corporations and so forth, in particular ways for profit. So, but going back to this idea of life from quantum physics, really, which is a beautiful idea of life, and from indigenous peoples, and from many other peoples worldwide who are going back to seeing life in that way, as a continuum, as a flow, I think it's going to be very, very important to oppose that techno-patriarchal imagination. Anyways, I don't know if that came out clearly, but
Yes, thank you.
My apologies for our technology. I'm not sure, there's just a lot of energy. We were talking about energy, and so my name is Rosie Torres. Bienvenidos, me llamo Rosy. Soy asistente de Verónica Castillo Salas y Don Beto Salas aquí en Galería. I am the assistant to Don Beto and Verónica here at Ecos y Voces del Arte. My apologies for not having the batteries run, but I'm not sure, there's just a lot of energy. So everybody take a deep breath and let it go. Otra vez, todos juntos. Open your legs, uncross. If you're crossed, open. Let go of all the tension. Let go of whatever we're grinding our teeth. Estamos como así cruzados las manos, que se desabren. No sé si esa es una palabra. Que se abran. I am very Tex-Mex. I was born in the frontera. I was born in Laredo. So as a fronteriza, my English and Spanish mix, and I speak all of it. So my apologies again for our voice not being able to be projected loudly. So I'm gonna ask if everyone can hold their microphone like this and speak directly to it as opposed to down here, yeah? And so gracias, thank you everyone for being here, for taking the time. Anyone have anything else to say? Marisol, Greg?
And I'll ask maybe like one last comment or question, because I know a number of us have to run to get kids, and Arturo has to also have a full day tomorrow as well, so just to be mindful of that. But any closing thoughts or questions or anything you'd like to share? Oh yeah, Tony.
I don't need the mic. I'm good. Thank
Okay,
you.
okay.
So first of all, my name is Tony Diaz, and just want to offer a few words of gratitude for the wonderful evening that we've had here today. Thank you to Deceleration, to Galeria Eva, to our wonderful speakers. There was a lot of truth shared today, and sitting in a circle reminds me that we have to keep balance in perspective. We talked a little bit about nature, and we have to recognize, as Arturo mentioned, that in fact we are a part of nature. We are nature ourselves. And so just as nature has to be in balance, we have to be in balance. There's a lot of hard work when it comes to environmental justice. And although we're sitting in a circle, it kind of reminds me of the center of a storm, right? It's calm in the center. So although the winds are raging around us, it is up to us completely, 100% up to us how we react to what's going on out around us. So take the time to heal. Take the time to process things, because the work that we do is sacred, and we want to present it in a manner that is sacred. Okay, so always keep that balance in mind and be kind to yourself, just as we're kind to each other and to nature. Thank you.
Especially our healers, right? We have many people here who are out doing frontline work, who are learning and developing as healers. We need you, and we need you whole. And I just want to offer my gratitude also as Marisol's partner in deceleration this work, to the Galleria, to Dr. Escobar, to all of the panelists and our guests. So many times, and I've worked previously as an organizer like Tony, and I know the tremendous burden and that puts on each of us as individuals. And the one thing I think we were so excited in the confluence of this moment and what brought us here today is something that we've held as a vision but not been able to actualize or realize, and so you've been participating with us is very precious to me, and I do hope that we can continue in dialogue here in San Antonio and with our partners in Colombia, in other places, otros países, and thank you. I just wanted to offer before I turn off the camera.
Thank you, everybody.